Welcome to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and their fabulous guests wander down the endless corridors of the 80s movies we think we love or might have missed with these our grown-up eyes. And this is an extra special episode. It's episode 100, Big Trouble in Little China, a movie selection from 1986. About which IMDb says a rough and tumble trucker and his sidekick face off with an ancient sorcerer in a supernatural battle beneath Chinatown. We have a supersized 100th episode for you today. I'm Krissy Lenz, director of the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And here for the 100th time is...
Nathan Blackwell, filmmaker, podcaster, and we've got two of our favorite guests with us.
That's right.
In no particular order, introduce yourself at the same time.
One, two, three.
I think I'm in the five timers club. This turns me into a five timer. I think in the last episode I said it was the wrong amount, but this time it is five because I did the Breakfast Club and I did Romancing the Stone and I did The Thing, which I really liked, and I did Predator, and now.
So, as you can hear, the boys both decided to do a bit rather than introducing themselves. So, I will go ahead and let you know that our guests today are author Craig Michael Curtis and actor Adam Rini, both stars of the award-winning Last Movie Ever Made, Nathan's most recent feature film. And they're both frequent guests on the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast, so we're super excited to have them with us doing all of the bits on episode 100. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have both of you guys here. You have been our most stalwart and exciting guests, so thank you for being here on episode 100.
Woo-hoo!
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Yay.
It took a lot of restraint to not cover Big Trouble in Little China until now.
It did.
Were you waiting for the 100th?
Yep, we saved it for the 100th.
Knowing you, I feel like this is a very formative movie for you. And my wife turned to me as we were watching it last night and said, it was during the beginning train station scene. As soon as Kim Cattrall shows up, it's like, oh, is that why Nathan cast you and Gabby?
Yeah, it would have
Not consciously.
I was like, I think deep down you might be right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to make sense.
I am attracted to the charismatic idiot who has confidence, but obvious flaws.
It's your boy right here.
And then the perfect foil to that is a smart woman who knows what she's doing, but is not always right all the time, you know? And so I think that comic dynamic is very appealing to me.
Well, this movie's got that for sure. Is this your favorite movie, Nathan?
It's definitely like in the top 3. It's tough to call this my favorite when Raiders of the Lost Ark exists, but I think that they will kind of like swap. Like, my favorite genres are adventure and comedy, but I prefer adventure comedy, ones that are on the spectrum of that, you know? Like Indiana Jones is way more adventure, but there's definitely comedy. Mm-hmm. And this is in a lot of ways way more comedy, but it's not wearing the comedy on its sleeve. Like, you have to kind of like, wait, this is a comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't present itself as a comedy. And then the ones that are like way farther on the comedy spectrum are like Three Amigos and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, you know. But yeah, this is one of my top movies. It's not one that I necessarily found as a young child. but as a teenager maybe that I kind of discovered, and I kind of like caught clips of it because we didn't have cable. I only saw like cable movies, HBO movies, when I went to my grandpa's house. So I didn't have the luxury to sit down for 2 hours and to take over the TV. And so I would just see weird 10-minute snippets of what is this movie? Like you'd see like the shootout in the alley, or you'd see like the big fight at the end, and yeah, it just kind of blew my mind, and eventually I was able to see the whole thing.
There's so many parts of this movie that I forget about, even though I've seen it so many times. I think I've seen it a lot of the same way that you have, in different like bits and bops, like different chunks of it here and there. So I always forget that there's a whole beginning with Egg at a lawyer's office,
which is never paid off.
No, like I want to see the trial.
Well, it's because they added that in after they shot the whole movie, because the studio was like, no, like we need to signal to the audience that he's supposed to be a hero because he's an idiot. We need some character to say he saved our ass, like he is a hero, he is great. And honestly, there's only one act that Jack Burton committed at the end that would make like Egg Shen say
we are
that.
all in his debt.
Yeah, exactly. There's literally just one act he did.
What, throwing that knife?
Yeah, killing. Well, he
Second
killed
time.
Lo Pan.
Yeah,
he killed Lo Pan. Like all this is like
he didn't kill Lo Pan. His reflexes did.
Well,
when he tried to kill him, he just hit that gong.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I feel like the real winner of this story, the real hero, is Jack Burton's reflexes.
Yeah.
Because it comes up at the beginning scene with the bottle, and you're like, whoa, this character's really awesome. And then you see more, and you're like, oh, this guy's an idiot.
This guy's a dumb.
And then at the end, you're like, oh, yeah, he has that one reflex thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has high dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I totally get why
critical
a lot
hit
of
dexterity.
People, when they first saw this, didn't get the movie,
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a couple of secrets in the movie. One of it is that it's actually kind of a Western. It was adapted from a Western,
What elements are carryover from
Western-esque.
then? Yeah.
I would say not a ton, but just the whole idea that Kurt Russell is kind of doing a John Wayne impersonation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like he did Clint Eastwood in Escape from New York, and he's doing like a full on John Wayne impersonation, and it's really kind of the character who rides into town, loses his horse, and gets sucked into an adventure, and then the ending where he doesn't settle down. He's got to keep going. He can't settle down with Kim Cattrall.
Doesn't even kiss her.
That's very much kind of a Western ending, where he's got to go and leave everyone and maybe never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got to go from town to town.
Never can tell.
Yeah.
There's also a part in the battle where they bring out the guns. They're in a battle in the alley that they just they just accidentally drive into, and the guy, like, suddenly they have guns, and the guy does that like Western finger wiggle thing.
He's got the gold pistols.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I feel like I saw that actor die 3 times in this movie, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Someone rezzed him. But the other thing is that this is where the studio, like, what the F, like the studio wanted like another Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is that the other secret of this movie is Jack Burton is the sidekick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Wang is the real hero. And Jack Burton thinks he's the hero and acts like he is. Like, all right, everyone calm down, I'm here. Like he thinks he's the central figure, but he's not. Like he doesn't get, with the exception of killing Lo Pan at the end. If he hadn't done that, they said, oh yeah, he's just the kind of like the dick tag along, the guy who talks while we're trying to sneak around.
Yeah, and he was like Lo Pan of like the 4 big bads is the least threatening.
Yeah.
Like he got to kill the old man instead of fighting the elements.
Yeah,
right.
Like Lo Pan of the 4 of them dies second. and you still have two of the elements left alive after he's dead. And at the very end of the movie, if we're not talking, in order, one of the things I was struck by was the fact that, like, Jack Burton is almost killed by security guards as he's running for his truck.
Yeah.
After having killed all of these supernatural menaces. And like, oh, that would have been an ignoble end if, like, oh, there's this truck right out at the exit, and then these like 6 security guards with like pistols shoot him down.
Oh, what happened to Jack Burton? Cintas got him.
Where have the security guards been this whole time? They're just up in the front room watching this all unfold on monitors, waiting for their time to shine.
They're watching the movie, waiting for their moment.
Yeah,
they're union, so they're not allowed to do much else.
They're not allowed to go under. They can't go underneath the city. They have to stay on top of the city.
You're gonna run through my lobby? Now it's my time.
Yes. This is
not on my watch.
So, like I said, there's a lot that happens in this movie that I completely forget about. The whole beginning at the lawyer's office, like, you forget how they get to Little China and how like sort of convoluted it is, because they do a whole gambling thing where they stay up all night gambling, and they're just like.
But what is the game they're playing? I don't understand.
I don't either.
Dominoes, yeah, Chinese dominoes.
It looked like 3-card Monty at one point.
I think they were switching games around. The first game where they're doing odds and evens, I got the impression it was like them flipping over like a little cup that had bugs or something in it.
Yeah.
And then I'm not entirely sure.
I thought it was a mantis cockfight.
Yeah, something
like in Enter the Dragon.
How many survive? 3 of them, so Jack wins, and that was it. That's the only thing they were doing. It was just odds and evens on something that couldn't be fixed.
Yep.
And you can't see because it's off. It's just off screen. But it looked like they're just gambling in general and playing the most obscure games. Yeah, dominoes at the end, and it's a whole night of, all right, I bet that cockroach will get across that gutter in less than 10 seconds. I win. And it's just, what else can we gamble about tonight?
Yeah. And he's up like $1,000-something, which seems like a lot if you're doing $1 and $2 bets here and there on random things.
Yeah, not a bad night.
Not a bad night at all. And they go double or nothing if he can chop a bottle in half, which he can't. That's when we learn about Jack's mighty reflexes. And now they're on this adventure together, because then they have to go fetch the $1,000, but first they have to stop by the airport and pick up Wang's bride, who, like, what are you doing staying up all night gambling if your lady's coming into town?
Well, you got to kill time. What are you going to do? That's a night where you're not going to get to sleep. It's been 5 years since you've seen that lady. Like when my wife, the first time she visited me, because she was living in New York, and then I had to take her to the airport. When I came home, I tried to watch Parks and Recreation, and I was like, this show sucks. I hate this show. This show's trash. It's one of my favorite shows, but in that circumstance, you need something to distract you.
Yeah.
So it's like when you have the flu and nothing tastes right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you just need to get through the night.
His soul and his spirit were going north and south.
Yep. Do you think he secretly wanted someone to come with him to the airport, and it was just a long con to get his friend to come with him to the airport?
That's interesting, because later on we hear him say, "Oh, this is Jack Burton, that guy you're always talking about."
Yeah. He wanted to introduce them.
Bromance.
He wanted to get all of his favorite people together.
That's great.
But hopefully you can clear this up for me, though, because I was a little confused. So at the airport, the Lords of Death are there to kidnap the girl that the lawyer Gracie Law is trying to sponsor into the country, but instead they accidentally kidnap Wang's girlfriend.
So they're there to kidnap Chinese girls.
Just any Chinese girl.
She just got in the way. They're just selling girls to the White Tigers, which is, a whorehouse. Chinese whorehouse.
It's also the mascot for my daughter's elementary school.
Oh, perfect.
The white tigers.
Perfect.
And so she just got in the way.
And
they were
just
going for
accidentally kidnapped the wrong girl.
Yeah, even though they're associated with the bad guys, they're kind of at a lower ecosphere of crime, and so they're not really tapped into the machinations of the plot.
Yeah, they're a couple tiers down just going on a joyride.
Yeah, they're level 1 through 5 minions.
Am I wrong in saying the fact that she was kidnapped sort of led to the rest of the story, because they're like, oh, there's a green-eyed girl. Now that's circulating in the underworld. Who's going to pay the most for this green-eyed girl? Lopan's like, oh, I need one of those. I'm going to send these supernatural monsters.
Yeah, so that's why the three storms attack the white tiger. You know, they're not like, oh, just send them over. It's not total cooperation. So they full on like snatcher and do property damage. You know.
By the way, another thing my wife said in the movie was, as soon as Jack Burton went in undercover, she was like, oh, there's Dan Rodandin.
Yeah.
Was this her first time seeing the movie?
It's her first time seeing it sober.
Oh, that makes sense. This is definitely a movie to enjoy with a couple of cold ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you always watch this movie again and you're like, I don't remember this part. I don't remember this whole
Yes.
Like, why are they fighting in the alley? Why are the three storms at the fight in the alley before we even get to the part where they're infiltrating the whorehouse?
Yeah, and how many beers in are you when you get to the Wing Kong Exchange? And
yeah.
What is the Wing Kong Exchange?
It's the place.
Import-exports. They import a lot of weird stuff.
They've got so many elevators that go down into many hells.
Yes. When the actor who learned his lines phonetically is giving the tour.
Yes.
There's another secret to this movie, which is that a lot of the dialogue is inspired by old like Howard Hawks movies, you know, old screwball comedies. Like anytime there has to be exposition and there's like 4 or 5 characters, it's very screwball comedy in terms of the dialogue and the snappiness.
That scene where they introduce the reporter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's pervasive. There's at least 4 or 5 moments, especially anytime Gracie Law is involved. You know, like that style of dialogue, that snappy repartee, that old style like Howard Hawks influence is there. And I no doubt it bumps for some people, but I think it's great and quirky.
This is a question for all three of you. What are some of your favorite lines from that?
It's extreme. Like the whole movie is I know everyone says this about their favorite movies, but it's extremely quotable.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, like son of a bitch must pay. It was never intended to probably be a quotable moment, but that to me always comes up. You know, I love that whole, you know, like keep the home fires burning. If I'm not back by dawn, call the president. You know, like it's like that's a fun one just to kind of like
a great capper for the conversation. Yeah,
exactly.
Very John Wayne.
You could just add it. You could just use the ending. You know, the like, oh yeah, if, you know, I'm gonna go get the groceries from the car. And if I'm not back, call the president. You know.
I like all the quotes at the beginning when it's just him and the Pork Chop Express, and he's like, "Let me tell you what old Jack Burton would say at a time like this."
Taps the back of your favorite head against the barroom wall and asks you if you paid your dues. Yes, sir, the check is in the mail.
He's like one of the first podcasters. Like he is just on an open CB, like doing his own radio show.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a public channel. You know,
that's got to be really frustrating if you're out there listening on your CB. You get to hear him for like 6-7 minutes as he drives by, and then nothing.
Yep. Then you're like, what is going on with Jack Burton? He seemed like he was going to have a really exciting day. He dropped off his load at Chinatown. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I want to know what old Jack Burton would say at a time like this.
He's not answering his blog.
He would have a blog, I think. He went on to have a blog. I completely forget that there's the reporter and the other guy even in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's like obviously this movie is
Eddie and Margot.
Heart.
Right.
Yeah. This movie is deep in my heart. There's maybe one or two, like a lot of movies, like Raiders Lost Ark is kind of like a perfect movie, like Empire Strikes Back is kind of perfect, but there's maybe one or two things, very slight things that don't really
make sense.
Yeah, it's not that they don't make sense, they just seem a little extra, like the Margot character I could have done without.
Right.
The other moment in this movie was like the torture scene with the CGI ball,
where he's
with the animated ball,
the Nerf ball.
That was great.
I love that part. I love that.
I thought it was like,
it just bumped for me a bit.
It's a little Nerf ball, but he's throwing it so hard that it hurts Jack Burton. It just looks like this soft little Nerf ball, and it's like, oh yeah.
Speaking of balls, in that scene towards the end where he electrocutes the Castle Grayskull thing and it closes its mouth.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you I immediately thought, okay, so they're doing this to make the pinball machine.
Right. Yeah. Nom, 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 nom.
This is going to be
based
perfect
off of
for
the
that
pinball machine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When were they building the underground layer to have the escalator? They're like, we need a skull mouth.
That looks so much like a mall. That last set.
Yeah.
Everything's neon. The Buddha, the 8-armed Buddha is neon. The escalator up to the
perfect
giant
for
neon
a pinball
skull.
machine.
Yep. Yeah. This is a movie based off of pinball, or at least that sequence was based off of a pinball.
You have that little giant ant pop out to grab your ball.
Yep.
And then, he uses the electricity to close the skull, but then the very next scene, like behind Lopan as he's escaping, but then the very next scene, they're going through the skull. And so I wasn't
They're just walking through it.
Yeah. Like, so much for that.
Then they had to go through the Sasquatch door after he gets kicked in the jewels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. At this point in the podcast, everyone has a cat.
Everyone get your cats.
That is disrupting. So I was thinking, it's like where they like all the neon. Like originally, I could see in the back of my mind and criticize that moment. It's like, I don't know why this evil temple has a lot of like interior design and neon going on, but like honestly, like what do they use it for? They don't use it for like big gang meetups. It's set up for a wedding.
Yeah, he's been planning
a wedding 2,000 years in the making.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't go to a super sweet 16 and be like, "Oh, they're doing too much."
Yeah, it's set up that the Grand Arcade, that large area, is set up for a wedding, and so I think all the neon is permissible.
So, but just to run it back a little bit, you're saying that when they accidentally kidnapped a Chinese girl with green eyes, and it was really Jack Burton going to try and buy her back from the whorehouse that alerted Lopan that they had a Chinese girl with green eyes.
No, so with Mao Yin, they found out through the pipeline, without Jack Burton's involvement, that they've got a girl with green eyes.
When she was kidnapped.
Yeah.
Because it seems like at the whorehouse when he was like, I'd really like a girl with green eyes.
And she pretended that there was not a girl with green eyes.
Right.
Yeah, that's way too quick for them to be involved.
So while that cat's tail is covering Nathan, I wanted to bring up
a cat. Listeners, my webcam is being covered up by a cat's asshole.
It's being covered by an asshole cat's tail.
What did you want to bring up, Adam?
I just wanted to bring up two of my favorite lines from the movie. One is, "I know there's a problem with your face."
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is, "Red light."
Why did
they? Oh yeah,
when they escape, after they escape, they all freak out about not running a red
intersection.
light.
Yeah,
one of the reasons why I love this movie so much is because all of my favorite moments are kind of character moments. It's not like a great one-liner that they came up with in a punch-up session. It's something that comes out of the characters themselves. Like, one of my favorite moments is when the Three Storms steal Mao Yin at the White Tiger, and Jack Burton runs up to Rain and slugs him right in the face
twice.
Does nothing, slugs him a second time, does nothing, and then Jack Burton just kind of gives like a smile and a nod. Okay, this is where we're at. Just that little moment is so good.
And yeah, like the nonverbal stuff. He's a great like line deliverer in this, Jack Burton. But some of his nonverbal stuff, like when Wang is saying, "Yeah, my mind and my spirit are north and south. That's why I couldn't slice the bottle." And then Jack just kind of gives him this smug like nod, like, "Yeah, of course. I knew that." He's and the eye rolling when he rolled the natural one against at the very end, throwing the knife and hitting the gong, and he just like my day.
And Gracie's look at him
with lipstick on his mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such another great moment of when they kiss. He gets all the lipstick on his face, and then he proceeds to have the big moment with the villain for like several minutes, still with the lipstick smeared all over his face.
Every elevator scene is so good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of elevator scenes. A third of this movie takes place in some kind of elevator. There are like 47 elevators in this secret hideaway.
Up or down?
I've seen a lot of bad elevator scenes, and they're all trying to kind of like do their version of the Blues Brothers, and great elevator scenes in this movie.
Yeah,
great elevator scenes.
After another.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling very positive about this.
and that whole magic potion that they take at the end is a great device.
Yeah, what is it, like just Red Bull?
It allows them to basically do magical things, Up until now, they've been very human and they've struggled, but now everyone can kind of participate in a kung fu film. And see things they could never see before, do things they couldn't see before.
Do the Ninja Gaiden jumping duel over and over again.
Mm-hmm. It allows them to kind of be superheroes, but with this magical potion. And it's a really great device to kind of like up the movie into a like kind of like a more adventurous genre,
So I had another question about that, though. Is Egg Shen also a 2,000-year-old timeless creature, or is he just, it's been handed down the story?
That's a great question, because they don't explain it. They do seem to have a relationship. Oh, you could never beat me, Egg Shen. You know, it implies that there's at least been a century between them.
I like to think that he is as old as I think they've basically been having this timeless battle for
he
centuries.
is his Van Helsing.
He says at the end, I've been waiting for this a long time. I promised myself a long vacation. Like, he's a long time, more than just like a few decades, but like, several centuries. And now that his work is done, he's basically going to go off into the ether.
Yeah, he's going to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
What is his vacation? Where do you think he goes?
Yeah, because when Jack suggests go back to the motherland, go back to China, he's like, China's in my heart.
I did 1,000 years there already.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Vegas.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Atlantic City.
Goes to the Moulin Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
Epcot.
Something very opposite. Are they friends? They're friends, right? Like, Wang and Jack are friends. We get that impression, even though it seems like at first they're just like sort of antagonistically gambling with each other. So how come nobody knows that he's got a fiance with green eyes. If it's this like big special thing, like he just hasn't told
it
anybody.
Sounds like he's kept it pretty close to the chest.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I imagine that he knows Wang because he goes there like every couple of weeks. Every time he's in San Francisco, he spends the night gambling in this back alley.
They just hang out at the wet market.
He's got a restaurant. They're just
he makes regular deliver. So his truck is called the Pork Chop Express because he delivers pigs in his truck, and so he probably regularly goes to that market where he sees Wang.
Probably delivers to Wang's restaurant too, and so they're not like best friends. Wang wasn't going to make him best man at his wedding. It's just they're buds. They hang out.
Supplier who likes to
gamble. Yeah. And now this obviously gave them a bond, this adventure they shared. But before this, I imagine they were just kind of casual acquaintances. Wang probably doesn't know that Jack Burton has been married before. He just doesn't come up in the gambling, or maybe he just mentions it offhand or something. But yeah, I don't think they're best friends or anything.
What actress would you play? What actress from the '80s would you cast as his ex-wife?
Goldie Hawn. Boom.
I didn't realize that it was called the Pork Chop Express because he was delivering pigs. I thought it was just called that.
Which emotionally I would find difficult, but yes.
Yes.
Live pigs?
Yes.
That would be emotionally difficult.
Yes, he delivers live pigs.
I think Glenna Headley.
Glenna Headley?
That would be the actor.
The ex-wife?
Not getting on the Goldie Hawn train with us?
No, because I think
she's pretty great.
It would just point too much to Overboard.
Yeah. She was in Dick Tracy and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels for reference.
Good reference.
Janet the Jackal.
Okay. So then we also think that it's the magic potion that gives him all of the kung fu powers. He has like some kung fu powers.
100%. Like we've seen Wang
already. Or the alternate theory is that the the medicine is really just hallucinogenic drugs, and they have a fight, but think they're doing super stuff, but it's really just sort of a hobo brawl down there with a bunch of wackos. They happen to win, but they think it was so mystical and incredible and kung fu-y because
then
they just imagined it. Because only a dream can kill a dream.
Right.
Oh, there you go.
So
only a dream can kill a dream.
It was all a hallucination. Or like when Jack shoots into the ceiling and the rocks fall on his head and he's unconscious for a little bit, he dreams it.
It's kind of like a twisted Alice in Wonderland sort of story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speak on that.
I was just quoting a movie. Anyways, so no, I think it's closer to Wizard of Oz, that they really do kind of travel into another world. From the production design, I really like how we always feel like it's all bright sunlight until they turn down this alley, and then there's fog, and from that point they're in another realm, and we don't really see the sunlight until the story is kind of done. They're always in fog, or they're literally underground, or there's rain.
By the way, and Nathan, for my funeral march, could you not do it through alleys?
Okay.
Yeah.
A back alley.
Well, they were trying to keep it on the down low because they knew. I mean, everyone for that funeral, everyone came with when it comes time to fight, they've got M16s.
But they also have cleavers. Like half of them have M16s, and the other half of them have meat cleavers.
Look, not everyone can afford an M16. Okay.
Yeah, check your privilege.
Sorry. I can't even afford a nice cleaver, so I clearly could not be involved in these back alley brawls.
There were people with wooden clubs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't afford the sashes that they were wearing. They were very fancy.
They were very nice. I think he was brave just to take that semi truck down alleys at all. Like, how is he going to back out of there?
There's zero clearance, so
nope.
Yeah.
First of all, if you run over Lopan, you just keep driving, right?
Just keep going.
You get out of your car and you look.
What was Lo Pan doing in the alley at that first part? Like, that had they already
he's the puppet master. Okay. Yeah.
So he was trying to get them involved.
Well, he doesn't care about Jack Burton or Wang at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He just see it as an opportunity of like, oh, these two warring gangs, I can wipe both of them out.
He's got a lot of machinations going on, but that's a good question. Like, what were the Three Storms and Lo Pan doing at that
funeral fight?
I think it's a two birds with one stone situation.
Well, the good guys, he knows that they are he's their greatest threat. Yeah.
Okay.
What were they called again?
The
Fighting Tongs.
The Fighting Tongs. So they're associated with Wang Chi,
mm-hmm.
and then the other gang is basically associated with the Wing Kong and Lo Pan. So they're kind of proxies.
Okay.
You know.
So one of the gangs is with Lo Pan?
They're kind of associated with,
because it looked like both gangs were like
a
scared on the other side of the alley, where it's like,
my thinking is that
we have to forget about our deal.
Control.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna neutralize, and I'm
because we see them in the final fight. We see them at the big fight at the end. We see a number of the guys in red at the final fight,
and the guys in yellow too.
Yeah, so whether or not they were getting recruited during that fight or that they were part of it already, I think they were part of it already.
Mm.
Yeah,
okay.
The herd who was being called.
Yeah, I think Lo Pan just has kind of a Bond villain style of management. It's like, well, you get in the way of my bullets. Like, that sucks for you. Like, he's going to chew through his own guys.
As Wang would say, don't ask questions, just drive.
Yes.
Yeah, but then he didn't.
He didn't do either.
He got out, and then they had this splash puddle water in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry, it's temporary.
My wife asked me that too. My wife asked me, "Why? How does he know it's temporary?"
Yeah, he knows a lot about very obscure stuff.
Has he been blinded by Lo Pan before?
He might have.
Question.
I imagine as a little kid, he has seen a dozen of these funeral boss fights that have devolved into supernatural combat, and has seen people temporarily blinded, and he knows that just rainwater from the street will fix that. So come over
Either
here.
That, or it's just like sort of positive thinking, you know? It's like, come on, let's cure your blindness. It's only temporary. Come on, let's keep moving. We're moving this way. We're getting out of the alley.
We're splashing pond water in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
None of the back alley brawlers seemed that confused about why there was a semi truck really blocking a lot of their fighting space.
They're very adaptable, I feel.
They are. They just are accepting.
Yeah. That's another thing about this movie is that I don't feel like 1980s. So this movie was a bomb in 86. I don't feel like people
in 96 it was da bomb.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things I feel like this is not the thing that differentiates this movie and other like movies with Asian elements in it during the 80s is that this is like full up a Hong Kong style action movie, like a kung fu film, and it's not sanding off the edges for like, it's not the Western people coming up with it. This is genuinely like Asian actors doing a Hong Kong film with Asian I mean it's definitely heightened, but it's like Asian choreographers doing it. Like it is a kung fu film, and I feel like this would have done a lot better had it come out after Jackie Chan had kind of like broken open like the kung fu film here in America. You know, like I just don't think that American audiences were ready for that kind of film. Like a lot of them hadn't seen that.
So white America is just thinking, what is going on in Chinatown?
Yeah.
Wow, I gotta go to San Francisco and see Chinatown and realize it's just one street with no winding back alleys or anything. But it's you imagine Chinatown in San Francisco is like this whole like
secret
20
world?
square mile section of the town.
Yeah.
And no, it's a street that's all like shops and restaurants.
But it's big enough in the movie for Egg Shen to take a bus tour.
Yeah.
Well, Craig and I have been Craig and I have been to San Francisco, and we made sure to stand at the gates of Chinatown where the bus goes through for a picture.
Nice.
There's plenty of room there for a bus tour for sure.
Okay.
I don't know what else to see. You just walk up the street, but yeah.
You shop. You look for the elevators that take you down into the seven hells.
The escalators.
A lot of hells. You're right. A lot of hells in the movie.
Chinese have a lot of hells.
That may not be historically accurate, but it may also be. I don't know. I didn't.
So Nathan, I have a question for you and Craig. When you went to Chinatown, did anybody ever call it Little China?
We did.
Yeah. Does that count?
They looked at us with, I'm going to say, admiration when we said that.
I feel like Little Italy is a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And Chinatown's a thing.
Right.
But Little China...
They never call it Little China in the actual movie, do they?
No, they call it Chinatown.
Oh. Yeah.
It's
just Chinatown.
But that's already a big movie.
Yeah. This movie, by the way, came in 72nd on the domestic box office for 1986.
Wow.
What came in 71st?
Firewalker.
Oh my God! What is
that?
Firewalker
movie?
More successful.
That's a movie but it's also one that I've been wanting to get on the podcast. That's Chuck Norris and Louis Gossett Jr.
Well, it did slightly better than Big Trouble in Little China, so maybe
What's
that's
73?
episode 102.
Who did it beat?
73 is Under the Cherry Moon.
Under the Cherry Moon? Did they beat Prince?
Yep.
My feeling is that the studio just wanted this one to go away. When they finally saw what they had on their hands, they didn't get it. They did very minimal marketing, and they just wanted it to go away.
Well, it's the same thing with The Princess Bride. They just didn't know what to do with it. They're like, we don't know what this movie is. Is it a comedy? Is it an action? Is it a kung fu
these
movie?
cross-genre films are like my favorite films.
But that movie did have a framing device that paid off at the end.
That's true. We needed to go back to the lawyer's office, or at least see some sort of litigation.
Yeah,
right.
It almost like if Egg Shen is like this spirit who is there to defeat Lopan, and now that his mission's done, he's going to go on a long vacation, and basically disappear.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Has he not left for his vacation? Has he come back? Has he come back from his vacation?
He went to his lawyer's office. That's where he went.
You gotta clear up those legal matters before you go on a nice big break.
Was that his lawyer or was that the DA?
Well,
it was his prospective lawyer.
Yeah, if I'm going to be your lawyer, I need to know some things. Do you really believe in magic? Because I can't. Is he up for charges or something? I guess.
He's a person of interest in the investigation,
And
they really want Jack Burton
and his truck.
Was there a green explosion that I missed?
Yeah, it happened
at the White Tiger.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Is it the White Tiger they're talking about?
They're are they investigating the White Tiger?
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Who is investigating this?
They're investigating the explosion of the prostitution house.
I want to see all the people who are coming in after these scenarios happen, in the alley, and then or was the White Tiger the first on the grid thing, and they're investigating that.
I have one thing to say about the White Tiger incident. It's Chinatown, Jack.
Forget it, Jack. It's Chinatown.
So I feel like this is going to be a hard movie to give a 1 to 10 scale for, but on a scale of 1 eyeball monster that sees and hears things that Lopan instantly knows to 10 eyeball monsters that
or
see
is
and
it
hear
one
things.
Monster with 10 eyes?
So speaking of the eyeball
How
monster,
many eyes?
Did Doom come out before or after this?
I think it came out after, but I can't be sure.
No idea.
Because Doom has that guy.
It does.
Let's see. Doom came out in 93.
Yeah, so Doom stole that. And Mortal Kombat stole Raiden.
Mm-hmm. I think I read that it was actually inspired by the Mortal Kombat characters. That they were inspired by
They were inspired by Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay.
Everyone was.
Yes. The 3 storms, and then they all look like Raiden. Okay, so
yeah, because Mortal Kombat also came out in the 90s.
Do you give it 10 eyeball monsters, Nathan?
Well, I give it. So obviously, I'm biased,
of course.
But I'm going to give it 1 eyeball monster with 10 eyes.
Okay.
if that's allowed.
Yeah, so, explain that.
I mean, I know it's not a perfect movie, but for me, it's perfect. Like, it's if I had to just have 3 movies with me on a desert island and a power supply to play the Blu-ray, because I wouldn't accept DVD.
Of course.
And streaming would be out of that would not be on a desert island, right? You could understand if you had a solar powered battery DVD player or Blu-ray player.
Of course, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
If it was just 3 movies, then this would be one
of
them.
With streaming, you need a subscription fee. And how are you making money to maintain that subscription fee on a desert island? I mean, be realistic.
You're like a virtual assistant on like HomeDepot.com or like a tax return website. Do you have any questions I can answer?
Just say Clippy. We're all thinking Clippy.
Yeah. What about you, Craig? How many eyeballs on your eyeball monster do you give Big Trouble in Little China?
Well, my 10 eyeball monster, I'm going to give him a slightly wounded one eye that got winged by Jack Burton when he tried to shoot him. And so I'm going to give it 9.5.
9.5. Okay.
Just shy of his awesomeness.
For me, it's a favorite movie or a perfect movie, but you can't expect everyone to have that same.
This is a very, very, very Nathan movie.
Yeah. What do you think, Adam?
So I have a, and I'm sure you've all heard me say this before. I have a special relationship with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a movie that I got to see when I was super young, and it was because it was free at the library.
Oh, yay!
So, and during the summertime in Arizona, when it's 120 degrees out, and you're a child, you just watch 5-6 movies in a row, and that's what you do till sundown when you can go outside and play. So this was on heavy rotation, along with Aladdin.
This is Aladdin, the perfect double feature.
And it's a mad world.
Oh my gosh!
And oddly enough, the movie Greedy.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, I think it was a straight to video with.
Was this Phil Hartman. For you? Was this the DVD era, or were you still on VHS?
No, this is VHS. This is.
So the only time you weren't watching is when the tape was rewinding.
Yes.
Watch it again.
Yeah. And so this movie is tattooed on my heart.
Excellent.
So I mean,
I literally have a tattoo of it on my heart.
I had them cut me open. They did a zipper job on me, and they
were already in there for some reason.
Mm-hmm. They were just trying to see if there was one, and then as soon as they found it, they did the tattoo.
We really don't think that there is one. We're gonna have to check.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pay for this ourselves.
They were like, "My God, it's so big! It's so big! Put the tattoo on there." Put Aladdin and Mad World also.
There's room.
So yeah, 10 out of 10 eyeballs.
Okay.
And then put glasses on those eyeballs, so it's really 20.
Okay, perfect. And then they can see better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Krissy.
I give it 8.5 eyeballs. And I'm only taking a couple away because I was a little confused. Even though I've seen this movie 20 times, I'm still always like, wait, why are they kidnapping them?
I mean, being confused is correct.
Yeah.
I think that's the lowest score I would allow and still be friends.
Okay, I think that's fine. And what about deep cut recommendations? I think it was kind of hard with a movie so beloved. Like obviously you want to recommend something with Kurt Russell. I don't know. What were we thinking?
I have one if you don't mind. I would like to recommend Kim Cattrall scatting on YouTube.
Is that something I can just Google?
Yep, you just Google Kim Cattrall doing jazz scatting on YouTube, and it's a treat.
Is that SFW or is that a different kind of scatting?
You can find girls on the internet, right?
Okay, I will Google that.
Jazz scatting.
Okay.
I'm looking it up.
You should probably play it after the credits.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah. Adam, isn't your Instagram handle ScatFan1?
That's my burner, so thanks for outing me.
Oh.
Sweet poop. Sweet poop.
Craig, what about you?
Well, I was trying to think of a good movie to do for a deep cut recommendation. It was very hard to come up with one that did justice to this particular movie. What I ended up picking was something I was thinking about all throughout the movie, which was this feels like a chaotic Dungeons and Dragons adventure. So I'm going to say
where the players just run amok with the adventure.
Yes, and like they have traps. You're stuck in an elevator and it's filling with water. What do? You just yell at each other. All right, the door opens and you swim out, and that will just capture you. Like the game master gives them traps that are a little harder, a little above their pay grade, and bails them out of it. And Jack Burton, okay, big boss fight. I know we've got 3 other bosses to get to, but he's here now. So throw your knife. Natural 1. Well, he throws it back. Do you want to use an inspiration? Yes. All right, natural 20. You got him.
Yay!
And now go fight the other 2 guys, and then go fight the goblins on the way out. It feels like, and everything's like you're in a labyrinth dungeon. Do we go up or down the elevator? I don't know. We've been down before. Let's go up this time. Yeah. And just going through a dungeon, it just feels like a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. So I'm going to say tabletop Dungeons and Dragons.
Perfect. Cool. I love that recommendation. And it definitely feels like a lot of side quests, and there's so many characters that you're like, why is the bard here? Why do we have this reporter with us? They're not
everyone can be a hobbit.
No.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nathan?
So for me, a movie that really kind of captures some of the same mixture of adventure and comedy is Thor 3 Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah.
Even so much so that in the 4th Thor movie, he's got a Big Trouble in Little China inspired shirt. It's definitely for Taika Waititi. It's definitely an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
When he pitched Thor 3 to Marvel, he goes oh yeah, and so in Big Trouble in Little China, the character is always asking why is this happening, how is this gonna work, what is going on over here, and using that as a device in Thor, of kind of moving the story forward, what the heck is going on, can someone explain it to me? And so it very much has the same energy, but if you want kind of a weird side, almost kind of like a nightcap, a weird side experience from having just seen Big Trouble in Little China, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, which is very different, but it has some of the same actors. This is only 2 or 3 years later, so they still look like the characters. He has some of the same actors in Prince of Darkness, which is very much kind of Satan is coming and he's it's not my favorite John Carpenter film, but it's kind of a fun, weird experience to see some of those same actors repeat in a totally different John Carpenter film.
Who's in it?
So Egg Shen and then Wang Chi are both in it, playing different characters.
Cool.
Are they different characters in that they have different names, but they're the same character, or are they completely different?
No, they're very different. They're different, but I mean, again, like the hairstyles and the style is very much the same. So it seems like they just came off of one set and went on to the other.
Nice. My recommendation is, I guess, more similar to Craig's. I was just thinking that this is a movie that is for people who love this movie to be inspired to do other nerdy things. So I want to recommend Phoenix Fan Fusion, which is the Arizona Comic-Con. It's coming up in the first weekend in June. And hey, guess what? The Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast will be there recording an episode about Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So why not? If you love Big Trouble in Little China, you're going to have a lot of fun things at Phoenix Fan Fusion that will inspire you and make you want to buy things and make you want to go see panels and cosplay inspired by it and such. So come to Phoenix Fan Fusion, come see us and say hi and see our panel.
I have one question.
Yes.
Is the Honky Tonk Man going to be there?
The Honky Tonk Man.
Last time we were at the Adam and I were at the Phoenix Comic-Con, now Fan Fusion. We had a booth for our web series, the Voyage Trekkers.
Yes.
And we were right across from the Honky Tonk Man who was doing signatures. So he would just walk over being bored and just chat us up.
Excellent. Was he fun?
He was fine.
He had a lot of complaints about the Comic-Con, but he was fine.
He wanted people funneled to him.
Oh, I see. Well, he wanted you to be responsible for that.
Yeah, he wanted to be able to hang out at the head of the line and kind of like meet and greet people as they came in, as they walked by. But they said, no, you've got to stay at your booth. And so he felt he didn't want that barrier between him and the fans. And I get that.
Is there anything less honky tonk than that barrier?
No.
It's not very honky tonk at all.
Not very honky tonk at all. Speaking of which, a decent deep cut recommendation would be the last movie ever made, since we have so much of the cast here. Which brings us to our plug segment. What can people?
The shameful plugs.
Yeah.
So the last movie ever made, our feature film, which Adam and Craig both star in it. It is playing at the Chattanooga Film Festival.
Woo!
There's actually an online portion of the film festival. So even those of you who are not going to Chattanooga, which includes myself, you can through their festival watch the film online. And I don't have that information yet. They haven't sent it to me. I don't know what date it is playing, but I know that the festival is hang on. The festival is in June, during June 23rd to June 29th.
Awesome.
So I would recommend, if you really are interested, during that time, check out the Chattanooga Film Festival website. Or check out our social medias, because we should know by then.
Okay.
And you can go to Squishy Studios, or you can go to Last Movie Ever Made on the social medias, and you can check out our movie.
Awesome. Craig, where can people find your authorings?
You can find me on craigmichaelcurtis.com and my Facebook page. And I would reiterate to check out the Last Movie Ever Made if you can. Fly out to Chattanooga and talk
and then watch it online.
Yes, just follow us wherever we are playing, and then watch us online in your hotel room.
Awesome. Adam, what do you got going on?
Does it go to the Last Movie Ever Made, anywhere you can see it?
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you can go to redbubble.com and just search Adam Rini, ADAMRINI, and buy a shirt I made.
Cool. I think everybody should go buy a shirt you made.
Go buy it, will ya?
Go buy it.
Or a sticker. The stickers are $1.
Well, you'd be a fool not to buy one.
I got for Christmas. I got everyone one of your Christmas cards. And they were confused, and I had to describe it.
I love that. That's what I want. I want confusion out in the marketplace.
Well, perfect. It goes perfectly with the movie Big Trouble in Little China. Confusion in the marketplace. Thank you guys so much, not only for being a guest on our 100th episode, but for being guests so often throughout our run here on the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It truly is a delight to have both of you, and hopefully we'll have you on the next 100 episodes to give your opinion. I think there's still a few 80s movies we haven't done yet, right, Nathan?
Yeah. We can at least get 25 more episodes out of this thing.
Okay.
Well, I need to maintain my 5%er status.
Okay, good. We got to have you on every 5th episode then. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoy the bonus content for our members, which is all of our ideas of what a sequel would be like. If there was a sequel, so stay tuned for that. You can also like, rate, review, thumbs up, star, whatever approval rating your podcast server uses. Please give us your approval. We seek it so desperately. And when you're out there in the world, please keep the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast motto on mind. Be excellent to each other. And party on.
Party on.
Dudes.
Party on, dude.
Live, laugh, love.
That's the new motto. All right.